Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Dillon, you recently announced that DOJ was launching an investigation into the University of California over its UC 2030 capacity plan, which notes that future growth of faculty and students should result in campus populations that better reflect and tap the talent of underrepresented populations who represent the majority of Californians. In the SFFA versus Harvard opinion, the Supreme Court held that nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, allowing universities to continue assessing students' experience with race on an individualized basis. In that opinion, in his concurrence, Justice Thomas praised the University of California for achieving diversity through race-neutral policies, including preferences for low-income applicants and first-generation students, and recruiting efforts targeted at areas with substantial populations of people of color. Are the race-neutral policies like those used by University of California, which Justice Thomas explicitly praised in that opinion, now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
Well, Senator, first of all, the investigation that we've opened is an investigation, and it's an investigation into the hiring policies of the University of California system, not the admissions policies.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so what you're about to witness right here is a masterclass in sophistry, folks. Adam Schiff is really good at trying to obfuscate what's going on and make some sort of fallacious argument to misdirect and mislead as to what's actually happening, folks. But y'all buckle up. This is a pretty good one, so y'all smash that like button for me. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you could, hit that subscribe button for me if you don't mind. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you also could, if you've been around for a little while, why don't you click that join button, sign up, and become a member? You know you want to. But without any further ado, here we go, y'all.
That said, I have absolutely seen abuses in the admissions policies in using race as a crude proxy for discrimination. That's not the question I asked you.
Are the race-neutral policies praised by Justice Thomas now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
I think you're mixing apples and oranges, so I can't really answer your question.
You can answer my question and say, yes, they are now illegal. That is what Justice Thomas praised in terms of race-neutral policies, which include preferences for low-income applicants, first-generation students, things like that. Are you now saying that what Justice Thomas praised is now illegal in your view?
Senator, there's a difference between what you see on paper and what you see in reality, and I reject your premise. I reject your premise that how California describes its admissions practices is
about whether you subscribe to the Supreme Court's opinion or whether you disagree with Justice Thomas' concurrence. You can answer that question, can't you?
In the abstract, yes. In reality, what you're describing does not exist in the UC system.
Okay, so Justice Thomas got it wrong. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Well, you are saying that because he was praising the policies of the University of California. You seem to be saying now that any university that gives a preference to low-income applicants is engaged in illegal DEI, or if they put a focus on first-generation students, that's somehow impermissible. After all the years of criticism of cancel culture, you seem to want to cancel any institution that has views that you disagree with. In answer to the questions about law firms, you want to cancel law firms because they take on unpopular clients to you, to the administration. That is, if a firm represents someone with an adverse interest to the administration, which is their First Amendment right to do, and I would also say their duty to do, you would cancel them. You would cancel universities like Harvard or the University of Virginia that take positions and exercise their First Amendment rights contrary to what you think the administration wants to see. You would cancel the Associated Press for not using the ridiculous nomenclature of the Gulf of America. You're canceling now the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal had the audacity to publish an article about Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is what's going on in this administration. You've devastated the Civil Rights Division. Hundreds of attorneys, 368, have departed since January of this year. There's been a mass exodus from the Civil Rights Department. It is just a shell of what it used to be. They're being canceled. They're being canceled by you, by the department. Anyone that stands up to this president is at risk of being canceled. And I think what you're doing to use the sledgehammer of federal funding with universities to try to coerce them to accepting your right-wing agenda is disgraceful. And using that cudgel will have far-reaching implications, attacking research done by universities, academic independence done by universities. It will establish a dangerous precedent that can be abused by a president of any party, and we should recognize that on a bipartisan basis, even though it does not appear that we do. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
So you got to love what he's trying to do right here. Okay, so in reference to the beginning of that clip where he's talking about Clarence Thomas, and do you agree that Clarence Thomas was praising the University of California? As a matter of fact, that's a lot. He wasn't praising the University of California. He was saying, look, they're doing, if you go read his opinion, they were doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's not praise, by the way. That is saying, look, they are not falling in line on certain aspects of their admissions policy, but other aspects of their admissions policy are blatantly discriminatory. He knows this. If you read the opinion, it's all right there, folks. Look, this is what they do, though. It's sophistry. They don't even believe what, because they know the truth. If he read the opinion, so he knows, he's like, oh, he was praising it. He knows that they weren't praising it, as a matter of fact. And he knows his argument right here. He's trying to make a gotcha. That's all he's trying to do. He knows that what is going on right here is illegal. It's racist. It's discriminatory. It's all of the above, as a matter of fact. DEI does not work. You're discriminating on the basis of race. That is illegal since 1965, the Civil Rights Act. Look, we've been making major inroads since then, right? But a lot of that, honestly, since Obama came into the picture, a lot of that's been going downhill. I saw a meme earlier today. It had a picture of Obama and it had a picture of MLK Jr., right? And it said, in the 8 years that Obama was around, it pretty much destroyed a lifetime's worth of work that MLK did. It's fascinating. I wish I could go find it. As a matter of fact, if I do find it, I'll throw it up right here. I don't currently have it, but I'll go back and look for it. If I don't, then I'm sorry. I couldn't find it anywhere, but it's fascinating because race relations have been going downhill for some reason. I mean, we were on the up and up. You know, there was a point in the early 2000s where people could say, hey, look, racism is just about gone. You have these small pockets of white supremacists all over the place, right? But the problem with that supposition is, you know, that's ignoring the black supremacists. They have been growing and growing and growing in popularity and numbers, as a matter of fact, ever since, right? But it wasn't really that big of a problem before Obama. Obama comes in and then these people just explode and all this anti-white racism starts coming in. It's very, very fascinating to watch. But in reference to the cancel culture stuff he was talking about canceling the AP because they didn't use the nomenclature. He called the Gulf of America nomenclature. That's a name. That is the current name of the Gulf of America. It's not the Gulf of Mexico anymore. And it wasn't just that, my dude. Look, he booted them from the press pool. Like, I'm sorry. Look, they still have access to the White House press room, just like every other corporate press outlet does. He just booted them from private areas like Air Force One, places like that. Any private events that they might have. No, they're not going to go because they publish fake news, folks. A lot of places publish fake news, and he's booting them out for doing so, right? This is totally legitimate. That went through the courts. The courts agreed with the Trump administration on this. Like, certain courts didn't, but once it made it up its way, the appellate board, the appellate court said, no, the administration has every right to do this. He said he was talking about canceling law firms. Like, no, he's not canceling any law firms, as a matter of fact. he's revoking their security clearances. This, as a matter of fact, this happens every single time we get a different party in the White House. Every single time law officers get their security clearances revoked. Because, guess what, folks? It's not just because a party switch in the White House. No, it's because contracts end. A Republican administration does not want to contract with a Democratic law firm. I'm sorry, this is just common sense, but he calls it cancel culture. This is what they do, folks. This is what Democrats do. They use language, and then they manipulate that language, and then they feed that to you as if it's reality, but it's all sophistry. That's all it is. These people, they live under the fallacy god, if you will, because that seems to be everything that they produce is just fallacious. It's just all of it is. It's ridiculous what Democrats actually pull off. But I've got a bonus clip for you guys, just something kind of funny I wanted to add in on this. As a matter of fact, it was the very next senator that came up in this hearing. It's great. I love Senator Kennedy. He's my senator from the state of Louisiana. The okay state. I'm not going to call it the great state because it's honestly not all that great. But, you know, it is what it is. That's my state. That's my senator. He's a great senator, right? Like, he's just a funny guy. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to say he's a good senator because I don't think any senators are any good. But he's a funny guy, so I'm going to leave it with that. Y'all not going to hear from me again. But that's all I got. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video all over the place. And sign up and become a member. That would be lovely. But y'all have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.
Thank you. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, how are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you.
Good. General, you believe in diversity, don't you?
I do, sir, yes.
Yeah. And if I defined equity as a state of fairness and impartiality, you believe in equity, don't you?
Well, equity is a proxy for discrimination, unfortunately. In these
I know,
policies,
but I'm not
so-
talking about the proxy. If I define it as a state of fairness and impartiality.
Fair, those are very important virtues, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I agree with, I certainly agree with equity. And I watched it through your confirmation here. You strike me as an inclusive person as opposed to exclusive. You seem to like people.
I like to think so, sir.
So you believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, as most normal people understand those terms. But that's not what we're talking about here, is it?
And no, it isn't.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, as many institutions and people in America like to use it, are talking about quotas, aren't they?
Yes, unfortunately, quotas have become the proxy for that vaunted slogan.
So when someone says diversity, equity, inclusion, we're talking about quotas. Let's be honest.
Quotas and discrimination.
Do you think, let's just take race. You can discriminate on any number of things, and you shouldn't discriminate on any of them, not an illegitimate characteristic, but let's just take race. Do you think race should be used to harm a person?
It's illegal to use race either to affirmatively try to help or discriminate against an individual.
It's wrong to use race to harm somebody.
Yes, sir.
It's wrong to harm somebody because of their race.
It's illegal and un-American.
Yeah, it's okay to harm them legally and appropriately because they're an a-hole, but not because of their race, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, it's also wrong and illegal to help somebody because of their race.
That is correct.
I mean, that's illegal, right?
Under our Supreme Court precedents and our laws, that is correct.
Okay. But we still have institutions, even after the Supreme Court's opinion, We still have institutions in America, some in government, certainly some in the private sector. I'm thinking of some of our universities who insist on implementing quotas. And that's what you're going after, as I understand it. Am I right?
I'm aggressively seeking to end those quotas. They're illegal and un-American.
Okay. And that's really what we're talking about, is quotas. And the American people don't support quotas. They just don't. I mean, I think first of all, most Americans don't think about race as much as people in Washington, D.C. do. The American people they understand that souls don't have a color. They believe that to a bear, all of us taste the same, like chicken. So this obsession now with diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not really, I mean, it's a pretty phrase, but it's not diversity. Who's against diversity? That's like being against golden retrievers. Who's against equity? Who's against inclusion? So they pretty it up, but they're really talking about quotas. And it's illegal. And it's immoral. And it's un-American. And it exists. And I'm watching it happen in our universities. You know, I mean, Harvard, I wish it weren't the case. Incredible university, really bright people, but it's clear they believe in diversity and equity and inclusion and the right to hurt Jewish people. What did we come to? Any closing comments? I said too much.
No, Senator, I agree with you, and I will say that the whole of this government is dedicated towards providing equal opportunity for all Americans. And anti-Semitism on our campuses is a shocking problem, but we've actually made great progress just in these first 100 days on that front. So thank you for your attention to these issues.
General, don't let the bastards get you down, okay?
Thank you.